For centuries, the Israelites lived under the shadow of oppression in Egypt. Their cries rose from the fields and cities where they labored as slaves beneath the rule of Pharaoh. Hope seemed distant, freedom impossible. But in the midst of suffering, a child would be born whose life would alter the course of history forever. A man chosen not because he was fearless, but because he was willing to obey. His name was Moses, prophet, deliverer, lawgiver. And through him would come some of the most extraordinary events ever recorded in Scripture. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you want to hear a particular story, leave a comment below. The descendants of Jacob had once come to Egypt during a time of famine under the protection of Joseph. But generations passed. Joseph was forgotten, and a new Pharaoh arose who viewed the growing Hebrew population with fear and suspicion. To weaken them, the Israelites were forced into harsh labor. They built cities, carried heavy burdens, and endured relentless suffering. Yet despite the oppression, their numbers continued to grow. Fearful of rebellion, Pharaoh gave a terrible command. Every Hebrew male child was to be put to death. It was into this world of fear and violence that Moses was born. To save her son from Pharaoh's decree, Moses' mother hid him for 3 months. But when she could conceal him no longer, she placed the child into a basket coated with pitch and set it among the reeds of the Nile River. Nearby, Moses' sister Miriam watched anxiously from a distance. Then something unexpected happened. Pharaoh's own daughter discovered the child. Moved with compassion, she chose to raise the Hebrew baby as her own. The child condemned to die would instead grow up within the palace of Egypt itself. Moses grew up surrounded by the wealth and power of Egypt. He was educated within Pharaoh's household and experienced privileges few could imagine. Yet despite his royal upbringing, Moses never forgot his Hebrew identity. One day, witnessing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, anger overcame him. Moses struck the Egyptian and killed him. When the act became known, Pharaoh sought his life. The prince of Egypt became a fugitive overnight, and Moses fled into the wilderness of Midian. Far from Egypt's palaces, Moses entered a very different life. In Midian, he became a shepherd. Years passed quietly in the wilderness. The man once raised among rulers now wandered lonely deserts beneath endless skies. Perhaps Moses believed his life of significance was over. But sometimes the wilderness becomes the very place where purpose is revealed. And one day near Mount Horeb, everything changed. A fire burned among the rocks, yet the bush before him was not consumed. As Moses approached the burning bush, a voice called out from the flames, "Remove your sandals, for the place where you stand is holy ground." It was the voice of God. Moses trembled with fear. Then came the command that would define his life. He was to return to Egypt and lead the Israelites out of slavery. But Moses doubted himself. He questioned his ability, his speech, and his worthiness. Yet God answered each fear with a promise, "I will be with you." Returning to Egypt alongside his brother Aaron, Moses stood before Pharaoh with a message from God. "Let my people go." But Pharaoh refused. Again and again Moses warned him. Again and again Pharaoh hardened his heart. What followed was a devastating series of judgments unlike anything Egypt had ever witnessed. The Nile turned to blood. Darkness covered the land. Locusts consumed the crops. Still Pharaoh would not yield. And the conflict between earthly power and divine authority continued to escalate. One by one, the plagues descended upon Egypt. Frogs overwhelmed the land. Livestock perished. Hail fell from the heavens. Each plague struck at Egypt's pride and power. Each warning gave Pharaoh another opportunity to listen. But his heart remained stubborn. The suffering intensified until finally the most terrible judgment approached: the death of the firstborn. Before that night arrived, the Israelites received instructions that would shape history forever. A lamb without blemish, blood upon the doorposts, and a meal eaten in readiness for departure. That night, silence and fear spread through Egypt. The Israelites remained inside their homes as instructed, marked by the blood of the lamb upon their doors, and judgment passed over them. But throughout Egypt, mourning arose. Pharaoh's own household was struck. Broken at last, Pharaoh ordered the Israelites to leave. After generations of slavery, freedom had finally come. Families gathered quickly, and under the leadership of Moses, a nation began its journey into the unknown wilderness beyond Egypt. Freedom did not come without danger. Soon Pharaoh changed his mind and pursued the Israelites with chariots and soldiers. Trapped between the Egyptian army and the waters of the Red Sea, panic spread among the people. But Moses stood firm. Stretching out his staff over the sea, he witnessed one of the greatest miracles in Scripture. The waters divided. Walls of sea rose on either side as a path opened before them, and the Israelites crossed through the sea on dry ground beneath the power of God. In the wilderness, the Israelites came to Mount Sinai. Thunder shook the mountain. Smoke filled the air. There Moses ascended to meet with God, and upon stone tablets were given the commandments that would guide the covenant between God and his people. But while Moses remained upon the mountain, many below lost patience and turned toward idolatry. The journey to freedom was not only physical, it was spiritual, a struggle between trust and rebellion that would continue for generations. Moses would lead the Israelites through the wilderness for many years. Though he himself would not enter the promised land, his influence upon history would endure forever. Prophet, lawgiver, deliverer. His story became a symbol of liberation, faith, and obedience to God. From the courts of Pharaoh to the summit of Sinai, Moses walked a path marked by struggle, doubt, miracles, and purpose. And through his life, generations would remember a powerful truth: that even in humanity's darkest moments, deliverance is possible.